Salon Married. I'm Joy LeMay.
I'm Naz LeMay.
And I think I need some Hair Story powder
Click
here.
the link in bio. Do you want to do like a little tutorial on how to use it right now?
I'm not kidding you. It's always this piece right here that always wants to separate no matter what.
It's your double lock. You're so punk. It just wants to.
I guess so. Just like, gosh. But can we just talk about how much Hair Story powder is truly the king and queen and empress of dry shampoo?
Hair Story's the best.
Good morning. What are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about tipping and why we don't do it. We do tip. Hold on. We tip. We don't accept tips.
We tip personally.
Correct. We tip other people when
we know that they are relying on those tips.
Correct.
In our salon, though,
we do not accept tips.
We do not accept tips.
And it's not, tip is already included. There's no such thing as tips. Our salon does not know the word tip.
Or, yeah,
gratuity. Yes.
Yeah. So, this is
why?
I'm trying to tell you.
I'm a 4-year-old. Why? Why? How come?
Oy.
We there yet?
No. Stop. Okay. So, this is one of those, like, what the fuck kind of things, because people get very reactive when we talk about gratuity. And when I say we, I mean Destroy the Hairdresser. I think you all know that I am a coach for Destroy the Hairdresser, which means that I coach salon owners and stylists who want to be salon owners to kind of transform their businesses where they are the ones who are in control and not the salon industry. So let's just say that. So the reason that we, like I said, we as in Destroy the Hairdresser, believe in going gratuity free is there's a lot of different reasons. And I do really want to, oh my God, the word is just like, suggest that people go and search the history of tipping and gratuity. And because in America, it was not a societal thing until after the Civil War, because they did it a lot in England. And when the U.S. wanted to distance themselves from England, they were like, we don't want to live in a gratuity-based society, because gratuity was all about, I just throw you some penance, and you should be fine with that because you are of a lower class. Well, America said, well, we all want to be equal, and for white people, and so we don't want to have a society where we have gratuity. Well, then after the Civil War, then we have all these newly freed people, and we don't want to pay them the way that we pay.
Right. It's not like everyone all of a sudden stopped being racist.
Right, and
Yeah.
not everybody all of a sudden was like, oh, so we should give you a livable wage. It was like, no, we don't want to do that. And so gratuity became a practice in the U.S. Now, hundreds of years later, gratuity is mostly found in jobs where it's minority and women, heavy. So, I think even in a lot of states, like you can have a lower minimum wage if you are working at a restaurant, because they know that, okay, gratuity will give you more money. And so all of these quote unquote menial jobs and service industry jobs rely really heavily on gratuity. And I think, especially now in the last 5 years, we see it even in places that weren't usually, you wouldn't normally tip at
Ever since you were able to turn the iPad around.
They're like, I'm at the movie theater and I'm selling you a ticket. You want to tip me? And you're like, what?
Yeah.
This wasn't a thing, 5 years ago, and now it really is. And so that's one aspect of it, of the history, and it does come from such a negative history and a negative place, and it comes from this service based, you have to oblige me, it's thank you for obliging behavior, so I'm gonna give you money. Therefore, as a minority and as a woman, you have to You know, I mean, you have to like put on that smile and like, you know, be sexy and kind of flirty, but not too flirt. Like, you're just having to put on a mask, honestly. So when we think about removing that, that should feel really good. Of like, I no longer have to placate to somebody in order to make a livable wage. I don't have to bend over backwards, you know, kind of blur my own boundaries.
To maybe. Because the thing is, you can do all that and the person's still quote unquote a bad tipper,
Totally.
and you get
You
like
you
a
go
dollar on a
above and
$80
beyond.
service. Yeah, you know what I
Right,
mean?
you
Yeah.
go above and beyond, and the person's like, meh.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, ugh, like it's so disheartening. So removes a lot of that like really heavy shit. For me, what I found was the most beneficial when I did go gratuity free was in my own heart, I knew that, and this probably goes into a deeper episode about anxiety.
Sure.
But I know that my brain functions in a way that says, how do I get somebody to approve of me? How do I get somebody to validate me? And being a hairdresser, that was very much tied into how much did somebody tip me? Did they like their hair? Then they tip me really well. If they don't like their hair and they, you know, then they don't tip me. So then I'm constantly riding this roller coaster of, did I do good hair? Did I not do good hair? Does this person love me? Does this person hate me? Is this person gonna come back to me? Or is this person going to, I'll never see them again? And it was always riding on how much did they tip me.
And then also there's that
And
weird.
that is a crazy roller coaster to ride.
Well, and there's
And
that
it's
weird thing
exhausting.
for when they come back and you're like, I don't know. There's this weird thing where you know someone's coming in that doesn't tip well. And you're like, oh, I know I'm only gonna make like $2.50 on this 4-hour
Right.
job. But then the people that tip really well, oh my gosh, Mama's gonna have some money
Oh
tonight.
yeah, and
you
you,
know?
you show up completely different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't even know if I've ever mentioned this, but I used to call it, do you remember I used to call it the Christian 10?
Oh, the 10%?
No.
Oh, $10?
Regardless,
Okay.
because I grew up in the church and I have a lot of friends, you know, that I met through church and everything like that. If I knew that there was somebody that I knew from church, I knew they would only ever tip me $10, regardless of how much the service was.
Wow. You're like, it says 10%, not $10.
No, but I always knew. Like, so
Yeah.
in my head, I would be like, oh, this person knows me from church, blah, 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 they're coming in. I know they will tip just $10, even though I spent like, you know,
6
5
hours.
hours.
Okay, yeah, totally. Well, and the thing is, it's become so ingrained in our culture that people think that it's,
No diss on Christians.
no. But
Sorry.
y'all are cheap though, man. You know,
I mean,
step it up.
kind of.
We love you. God bless you. But I think people think it's so ingrained in our culture that you can't get rid of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, I've got a cousin from New Zealand, and
Oh, yeah.
when he came here, I went out to eat with them, and I'm like, you know, looking at the bill, and I'm going, okay, 20% is this. And he goes, man, you guys love to tip. And I was like, we don't, actually, it sucks. But he's like, everywhere I go, people are tipping. And I'm like, what, you guys just tip like what, you know, waiters and waitresses and pizza delivery guys or what? And he goes, no, there's no tipping anywhere in New Zealand.
At
Zero.
all.
No delivery people, no waiters, waitresses, nothing. There's none. And he's like, it's fantastic. He's like, I don't know how you guys deal with this. And the other
That's
thing
the
is,
it's like if you ask general public,
nobody
everybody
likes
hates it.
Yes.
Everybody hates it.
And here's the thing, what do we hear most from hairdressers?
My
Client,
clients
yes.
love to tip me.
No they don't.
Girl, they don't.
Yes.
They don't.
Look,
You don't like tipping people. They don't like tipping you.
no. And we've never had a client go, oh, but I love to tip.
Okay, now I will say, there are times when a client really does persist to tip somebody, okay? Please let me tip you. Please let me tip you. that is not, and I'm going to be really freaking clear about this. That is not them saying that they want to tip you because they love to tip. They themselves are trying to protect their ego from being labeled a bad client. So they want to tip you so that they know that you know that they are a good person.
Right. Also,
And a good tipper and a good client, and that they do appreciate you and that they do love you. That is the only
because of the culture, it's in their head.
Because of the culture. I cannot be a bad tipper, right? I remember always hearing like, oh, you know a guy is a shitty guy and you shouldn't date him if he doesn't tip the waitress good, right?
Mhm.
It is so ingrained within us that we are not good people if we don't tip well,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
So it's not that your client loves to tip you. They are protecting themselves from looking like a bad person.
Correct.
Then we can also go into that whole energy exchange when they know that you are not charging enough.
Yes.
And they feel shitty for getting such good hair at such a low price, they will want to tip you because they feel shitty about
If you're
it.
charging enough, no one's gonna want to pay you extra.
Correct.
Also,
You
you
go,
can
it's
go.
$1,000. They go, great. Here's $1,000.
Go
I
to
want
the.
to give you 1,001.
If you go, you can go to us on Yelp, the Ministry Salon, on Yelp or Google, and one of the keywords that
Yeah.
are like, it tells you the most popular words that are in the reviews.
Uh-huh.
And on both of them, gratuity is one of them. And you click it, and every single one of them is like, and they don't do gratuity. It's amazing. Not one person is like, oh, I was so sad I couldn't tip. Every single person says,
Correct.
it takes all the gas, because everybody knows when you tip, you constantly have that war in your head. Well, I don't want to be a bad tipper. I don't want to tip too much because I don't want to, it's a lot. So let me try and find that middle ground, and you're always constantly
What's
doing the
appropriate?
calculation, what's appropriate. Well, they were really nice, so this,
Yeah.
And also, like, we're not saying not to tip. You should tip. People rely on them. But as a culture, we want to try and move us away from that.
Yes.
By getting away from there, salon stylists charging what they're worth. So there's no guessing.
As what I like to call it, an artistic professional,
Yes.
as opposed to a service worker, a service provider, right?
Because they know exactly
Even
what
if
they're
you-
going to make at every single appointment. There's no guessing. There's no, hopefully I get good
Correct.
tips this week so I can go out to dinner.
That stylist is somebody who has poured hours into their craft. They have gone to school, they've done extra education. They take it so seriously that for them to rely on tips as income, like, that sucks, And like, I get it, like, you might be in a position where you're like, but that's where I am right now. Great, keep doing it. But my hope for you is that you get to a place where you set your rate of what you're going to make, you know what you're going to make, and then when you go to the bank to buy a house, to buy commercial real estate, to buy like 4,000 acres out in the middle of nowhere, that you can go to the bank as like somebody who has as much merit and credit as a lawyer or a doctor or a plumber or anybody else.
I mean, those are the people that really should be getting tips. It's like, hey, you took out my gallbladder in like 2 hours. I'm throwing you a couple extra $100. You know what I'm saying?
I know, but yeah, like, that's what I want for our industry.
Or God forbid, you need to collect like unemployment or disability because something happens to you.
Right.
And you've paid into the system as an employee, and you've got,
Yeah.
you've got rapport there.
There's so many things, and it's just like not being reliant on tips for income creates such a steady feel. You're no longer riding that roller coaster. For me, again, it removed that emotional manipulation that I was doing with the client. So manipulation is anything that you are trying to get from somebody without explicitly saying it, right? So it's not always, doesn't have like this negative connotation. It can just be as simple as like, when someone's, when you're pouring tea and I'm like, oh, you're pouring yourself some tea? That's me
I've
manipulating
never heard
you
you
to
say
go.
that.
That's me manipulating you, going like, do you want tea? And I go,
Yeah.
oh, that'd be great. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Instead of me just going like, hey, can you pour me a cup of tea? So the thing about it is like, if you are like, I want to make this amount of money, you just simply state, this is how much it's going to charge. and we're done, you know? So, like, end of story. And that push and pull, did that client like me? Did they not like me? You know, then we also have clients who are like, I saved up for months to come see you, and then they know that they can't leave you with that great of a tip. That client isn't going away thinking, I got my hair done finally by my favorite person. They're thinking, oh, I didn't tip as much as I wanted to. Now they're feeling shame. Instead of going like, no matter who comes to me, whether rich, poor, has a ton of money, has saved up for it, everybody's the same. It's such a great equalizer, and it truly revolutionized the way that I look at myself, my work, my clients, and inevitably it also helped me to, you know, to open a salon, eventually buy a house, because it wasn't like, I didn't have to like quote unquote claim tips and claim cash and all of this gray area that we love to live in. Oh, well, if I take tips, then I'd pay less in taxes and all this. It's like, there's so many layers to gratuity that we can unpack, and we could be here for like another hour. But the biggest takeaway is, say what you want to charge it. Clients will either pay it or they can't. Same with any other price that you do. It removes a lot of that emotional bullshit. It removes the generational trauma that's attached to it. And you're moving forward as an artistic professional who can then be able to pay their taxes and be able to claim that they are profitable, that they do make money, and that they can buy a house, they can buy a business, they can go on vacations, they can, you know, buy commercial real estate, they can go and live the life that they want to live. Okay,
Bye.
okay, bye.
That one got you fired up. I love it.